My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. And today, we're going to start in a seated position. So I guess I need my blocks. Does anybody else need a block? Because you probably will need one, at least one. So, okay. And I'm just going to start by mentioning that one of my students who is really, well, she's a body worker. I'll call her that. She's a physical education specialist. And we were talking about yin this past weekend, and she told me that fascia and your muscles are the same thing. So all you had to do was stretch your muscles and your fascia got the benefit. That is absolutely false. She didn't like that answer. But again, just to remind you, because I obviously wasn't clear enough, your fascia covers all your muscles. And your fascia helps your muscles maintain the shape that is most beneficial to your body. That's why your bicep plumps up here and is farther away from your bone so that you get more force out of it. It doesn't just sink down to the least possible radius around your bones. Well, as you grow older, and everybody here, I can tell, has grown older, at about age 30, your fascia begins to shrink. And as your fascia shrinks, it constricts around your muscles. So it gives your muscles less space to move. Your fascia's job, in addition to protecting and lubricating the surfaces of your muscle, is to connect all your body together. If you look at your back, you have no muscles that attach from your left side to your right side. Same thing with your front side. You have a sternum there. There are no muscles that attach the two sides. It's all fascia. Every one of your organs has fascia around it to protect it. So as you grow older, your fascia shrinks. And it's just like if you put a saran wrap around your arm. It's very, very thin. If you cut open a chicken recently, you have that real thin, silvery membrane. That's fascia. And you have the same thing, except around your wings. But it shrinks, and so you can't move to the fullest extent of what your motion used to be in the past. So if you can't touch your toes, that is probably because your fascia has shrunk enough that it's restricted your movement. So the only way to get to that fascia is by stretching your muscles, the muscles that you want to get to, the fascia, and then relaxing those muscles so that your body position maintains the tension, and your muscle, the tension from your muscles get transferred into your fascia. When that happens, the ends of your fascia, which are down near your bones, gets tension, and that prompts your stem cells. And yes, every single one of you are producing stem cells as you sit here. You're just not producing them as often or as fast as a child. But those stem cells go to where the stimulation is. So as you stretch into a pose and then soften those muscles that are stretched, you're stimulating your fascia, and the ends of your fascia get more stem cells. They create more space, more length or breadth to make more room for your muscles. And that's why you hear yoga instructors talk about, creating more space inside your body. It's quite literally the truth. So the reason why we practice in a cold room, not a heated yoga room. So if we had the ability to put it up to 85 degrees, we wouldn't. We'd keep the temperatures right here, because when your muscles are warm, they're already pliable. So if you stretch, your already pliable muscles will have to stretch even more. And so a 5-minute hold may become 20 minutes. So it just makes more sense to do yoga in a cold room, cool room. So that's why we do it that way.
So hot yoga really doesn't help.
Hot yoga is great, but it's not, it works on muscles. It doesn't work on your fascia. Okay, hatha yoga is muscular yoga, strength yoga, and all the poses work on your muscles and work on your flexibility also. In hot yoga, Bikram, what happens is they use the heat from the room to make your muscles pliable so that you can get into more challenging poses, because your muscles are already really soft and pliable, so you can get into crazy poses like candlestick and other things that I can't begin to believe I was able to get into. But it's just a different kind of yoga. So, okay, last thing is that there's no class in this facility next week. They're shut down for cleaning and doing something. So next Wednesday, you're on your own. I'm not certain I'll be Zooming it. I may. Depends how my height goes. So anyway, now that you're seated here, just bring your hands to a comfortable place on your legs or on your lap. Lift your spine tall. Lift the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and exhale it out through your nose. Take another cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale it out through your nose. Let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Use your breath throughout this practice as a meditative aid. When your mind follows your breath in through your nostrils, swirling the air around in your nasal cavities where it gets cleaned, moistened, and warmed in preparation for its journey on to your lungs. And then observe what parts of your lungs you inflate automatically. Breathing is one function that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. And by keeping your mind busy, You allow your body to do what it can do. Your mind's job is to control everything. But controlling everything sometimes is not good for you. Your body can always do more than your mind thinks it can. On your next inhale, open up your eyes. We're going to start today with full saddle. Did I hear a cheer? Okay, but you may want to just stay on your block. And the way to get into saddle, you can start by coming up onto your knees, and then just bring your hips back. You can rest them on a block. You can rest them on your heels. You can bring your heels out wider from your hips. You may need 2 blocks. Absolutely. And that's the way I started this pose. But it's a real big quad stretcher. And then it's a nice foot stretch because your toes are pointed and your ankle is being stretched out. I forgot to bring the bag with the towels. Normally I just sit down on a rolled up towel. But bring your hands behind your hips. And then tuck your tailbone under. That will tilt your pelvis back. It will also tilt your sacrum inside your pelvis. Your sacrum hangs on both wings of your pelvis and is the base of your spine. Now you can stay here, you can come back onto your elbows if that is within your practice. If you feel like your legs are going to break apart, definitely don't do it. But if you've walked almost 7 miles today, this will feel really good. But it is pretty intense, so we're not going to stay here too much longer. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, come back up. Walk your hands forward. Come into table. In table, your knees are directly below your hips. Your wrist creases are directly below your shoulders. Inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward. Your sit bones raise up and separate. And exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, and finally your chin comes towards your chest. And then inhale into cow. And exhale into cat with your own breath. You don't need me to tell you when to breathe. But match up your inhales to cow, your exhales to cat. The next time you come to center, pause. The next pose is the toe stretch. So from here, look between your legs. If you can see your feet, move your feet wide so that you can't see them. And then curl your toes under. And then maybe you can bring your knees back 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 and walk your hands back And be real careful. You don't want to put too much weight on your toes. But check to make sure that even your pinky toes are getting bent back a little bit. You may find one foot is more pliable than the other. This is not intended to hurt. All pain is bad. And if you ever have pain in any pose, get out of it right away. Pain is telling you that you're about to injure your body. And then walk your hands forward. Maybe tap your feet on the mat. And then from here, in table, lift your right leg up and back, step on that back wall. We're going to come into Swan. So for Swan, bring your right knee right behind your right wrist and bring that right foot off towards the left. It doesn't have to be parallel with the front of the mat. And then walk that left knee back. You're trying to bring your right hip down onto the mat. As you come up, the more vertical you can be, the more weight you get into your hip. Now you can always go on your back and do a reclining swan, which come onto your back, bend your knees, bring one knee over your right ankle over your left thigh, and then draw that left knee into your chest. From here, you have some options. If you want to do the standard swan, you can just come forward and come down towards the mat. If you'd like to direct this, if your glutes, which are the targets here, if your gluteus maximus is in need of stretching, you can always walk your hands towards the right side of your mat, over your front knee, and then come down. And that puts your body geometry to pull on your gluteus maximus, which is closer to your sacrum. And if you'd rather have this on the gluteus medius, which is on the outside of your hip, you can come off to the left. And maybe you want to just try that and see what feels different, what feels better for you. You may be surprised. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your knee. Come over onto that right hip. Bring that left foot around towards the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. Push your heels away, get your feet up in the air. Rotate your feet. That will rotate your femurs and your hip sockets. Or if you'd rather windshield wiper your knees, that's available also. And then come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Stretch your arms towards the wall beyond your head, your heels towards the front of the mat. And then bring your hands back down by your hips. Walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. And draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock from left to right. Massaging your spine. And the next time you're at center, pause with your knees right at the center and bring your arms out into T. We're going to spinal twist on the left side. So on your exhale, lower your knees to the left. You can always bring that left hand on top of the right knee to help bring it down. You shouldn't do anything more than just resting that hand. Maybe your gaze can look off towards your right hand. You may need a little more space for your head to turn, so move your head a little bit to the left. Feel the muscles that are being stretched here. Your obliques, which attach from the lowest the lowest rib to your pelvis. Your pecs, which go from the center part of your ribs all the way up to the top of your humerus. And soften those muscles. Soften your lower abdomen. Soften your glutes. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Give yourself a squeeze. Draw your knees into your chest again. And rock and make circles on the ceiling with your knees. It can be little circles or big circles. Make sure you go the opposite direction. That will get into different muscles. And the next time you come to center, pause. Make sure that you can reach your strap. In fact, grab your strap and just rest it over the front of your chest. Draw your knees back into your chest. And then release your left foot out to the front of the mat and push that heel away as you draw that right knee up into your chest or your armpit. And then grab your strap, place the center of the strap over the ball of your foot, grab the ends of the strap with your hands, and push that foot up onto the ceiling. So now you're holding on to that foot with each end of the strap. Now draw your arms apart. That'll put more weight onto your leg, drawing it down into the hip socket. You may find that your leg is beginning to bounce a little bit because your leg rarely feels this sensation. And that's perfectly normal. It's just a disconnect between your nervous system and your muscles. And then carefully change your bind into just your right hand. Turn your right toes out about 15 degrees. Bring your left hand on top of your left thigh. That left hand has one job, and that's to keep that left hip down. And then over the course of the next 4 breaths, begin to lower that right leg out to the side and or the front of the room, the wall beyond your head, knowing that you're never going to rest that foot on the floor. If you come close, just increase the amount of tension. You can rest your elbow on the floor. You're putting a stretch into your abductors. You're also putting this stretch on your iliacus, which is one of your hip flexors. Close your eyes and turn inside. And notice where you feel this sensation. And breathe into that sensation, which will direct more blood and more oxygen to those cells in need. The sensations they're experiencing are your body's way of attracting attention. Rest the rest of your body. Soften your lower abdomen. Begin to deepen your breath. In your next inhale, bring that foot all the way back up towards the ceiling. And then keeping tension on it while you bend your knee, bringing that knee down towards your chest. And when you feel comfortable to release the bind, release it, draw that knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze, push that left heel away. And then bring that left knee into your chest to meet the right. And rock a little bit left to right. And then change your bind just to your left knee. And straighten out your right leg to the front of the mat. Push that heel away. Maybe you can sense that you can draw your knee in a little bit closer when that right leg is out. Maybe not. Retrieve your strap and place the middle of the strap on the ball of your left foot. And then slowly raise that footprint up onto the ceiling. And as you push your foot up onto the ceiling, draw the strap ends away from each other. You're getting a stretch of your back muscles here. And then carefully change your bind into just your left hand. Bring your right hand on top of your right hip crease. Turn that left foot out a little bit. And then over the course of your next 3 to 5 breaths, bring that leg down towards the mat, towards the floor, but never get there. Notice if you have any sensations in your right leg. Breathe into wherever the sensations may be. Your edge in Hatha Yoga is somewhere between sensation and pain, where doing any less is not enough and doing any more is too much. In Yin Yoga, your edge is where you can stretch and still soften those muscles. And so in every pose, there is some point that you seek where you can get the most stretch and yet be able to soften those muscles, get them to relax. And if you can't get those muscles to relax in the way I described the pose, back up. You can lift your leg higher. You can let your leg go down closer to the front of your mat. But the most important thing is to get those muscles to soften. Because if those muscles don't soften, you'll get a great stretch on your muscles, but it won't get into your fascia. And you won't be able to turn back time to some time in the past when you had more flexibility and mobility. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly raise that foot back up onto the ceiling. And when you're ready, begin to bend the knee and release your bind. Drawing that knee back into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Add the right knee. Rock from left to right. Massage your spine. The next pose is going to be Dragonfly. So you will need to come up to a seated position. Now you can cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards if that works for you. If not, you can always come over onto your right side. Use your left hand, push the floor away, come up. So Dragonfly is a straddle. So your legs will be wide. I'm going to offer a lot of options here. So I'm going to start off on a block. And if you select the block, make sure that your sit bones are on the very front edge of the block so that it feels like you're going to slip right off the front. But I guarantee you won't. And if you do, it's not a great fall. Now, if you spread your legs as wide as possible, odds are you're not going to be able to fold forward at all. So bring them back in a little bit. And you can move your legs out and back however you want when the time comes right for you. You can also bend your knees. So from here, inhale your spine tall. And then on an exhale, begin to walk your hands forward, drawing your collarbones towards the front of your mat until your body asks you to pause. Now, each of you are going to be in a different position. Maybe you'll want to drop your feet so that your toes are more or less pointed rather than flexed. That's fine. This pose targets your groins and your spine. So those are the two places that you should be feeling this. Also your hamstrings. Breathe in and out through your nose. And try directing your breath to help you in this pose. Maybe breathe into your sacrum, way down the middle of your back, as far down as you can get. And then as you inflate the rest of your lungs, just breathe up along your spine, all the way up to the top. You'll lengthen your spine, which is the intent of the pose. And then on your exhale, just allow your spine to round forward. Allow your head to drop forward. Notice where your hands are. If you're grabbing onto legs, that would be a Yan pose, not a Yin pose. You don't want to be using any muscles at all in this pose. You want gravity to do the work. If you can feel your shoulders, maybe just turn your palms facing up. That will allow your shoulder blades to float down your back towards your hips and soften your spine. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up about halfway. push your collarbones forward any bit farther. And exhale, fold forward again. And this time, try to moon the person behind you. That will tilt your pelvis forward and allow you to come forward a little bit more. And then surrender to gravity. Notice your breath. Notice if your breath is restricted by your body position, and observe what your body does to compensate. Maybe your body breathes deeper in towards your kidneys. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back, lifting your chest. Set your blocks aside before you remove what fits underneath you. Bring your hands behind your hips and bring your footprints onto the mat. Now this is where I'd like you to experiment. If you always have your feet close together, move them wide apart. If you always have them wide, move them close together or somewhere in between. And then slowly windshield wiper your knees from one side to the other. And feel what part of your hips are most engaged. Where's the most satisfying feeling? And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, come down onto your elbows. All the way down onto your back. Keep your hands next to your hips and walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. On your next inhale, tilt your pelvis back so that brings your small of your back into contact with the mat. And on an inhale, lift your hips up into bridge. Feel your quads here, feel your ankles. Your hands are really close to your glutes, so just reach up and feel your glutes. You're working really hard here, pushing your legs back, which pushes your feet into the mat. And then lower back down. This time, find a block. And your block has 3 different elevations. And you don't even need a block. But for supported bridge, on your next inhale, tuck your tailbone under and lift your hips up. And then place the block underneath your sacrum. The highest way you feel comfortable. Could be the 9-inch. Well, 9-inch high, could be 6, could be 4. Doesn't matter. It's what's best for your body right now. Carefully lower back down. And carefully move your hips from left to right. Make sure that you're stable. And then, if you are stable, walk your feet out towards the front of the mat. Your heels can be on the ground. If you think that's good for you. If you'd like a little bit more stretch, raise your arms up towards the ceiling. And then lower them down onto the mat beyond your head. And find a way to let those arms rest on the floor. If your arms are up in the air, flailing away, the rest of your body won't soften. This pose, you're stretching your rectus abdominis muscles, those muscles that go from your bottom of your sternum all the way down to your pubic bone and your obliques, all the muscles in your core on the front side. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your arms back down by your sides. Walk your feet back up towards your sit bones. And on an inhale of your choice, push the floor away, lifting your hips, remove the block and set it aside. And turn your hips back down to the mat. Draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. Rock from left to right. 4 circles. And then the next pose we're going to do is also going to require coming up into a seated pose. So from here, you can do it the same way, cross your ankles and rise up. And this next pose is Swan on the other side. So you can get there easily from seated. You can bring your left ankle roughly parallel to the front of your mat. Come over onto your right hip. Bring your right knee behind your left heel. If that's good for you, great. Otherwise, just return that right foot all the way back towards the back of the mat. Lowering your hip down. I did say this on the first side, but if you find that this is really a challenge to your glutes, you can always take a block and tuck it underneath your left glute. And you will find that your glutes will soften almost instantly. And then when you want to come down, you can walk your hands forward. You can walk them off to the left, which will get into your gluteus maximus a little bit more. We're off to the right, and it gets to your gluteus minimus. And I recommend that you just try front, left, and center and see what is best for you. Because every day is different. your pickleball today may have been really stressful, more on one side than the other because of the way the opponent was playing. So find what's best for your body. And if your left knee hurts, back up or bring that left heel in closer to your body center. You can also do your reclining swan. So I suggest that you do that. They always forget to mention that in this pose, your arms don't have to be out in front. If you want to use a block underneath your sternum or underneath your collarbones, that's fine. But you can bring your arms back down towards your feet if that works better for you. Or they can be off in the T. Begin to deepen your breath. Walk your hands back towards your left knee. Push the floor away, lifting your chest up. Come over onto your left hip. Bring your right leg out in front. Meet the left leg. Bring your hands behind your hips. Rock your feet from one side to the other. Because your because your glutes were the target of this past pose, rocking your feet helps, but sometimes windshield wiping helps. And all these counter poses are for is to help return your body to normal quickly. The next time you come to center pause, come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. Rock a little left to right. And the next time you're at center pause, bring your arms out into T. And then on an exhale, lower your knees off to the right in spinal twist. Feel the stretch across your chest as your knees come down. If your neck allows you to gaze off towards your left arm, left hand, do so. Notice the stretch on your ribs. And soften your feet here.
Soften your thighs. Work your way up your body, softening muscle groups as you get to them. As you become more experienced, you may be able to establish a sequence that your body looks forward to for relaxation. You may start with your feet and move to your calves and your thighs and your boots and work your way up. Or it may be from wherever the sensation is, and then radiate softness away from that spot or into that spot. Soften your belly. Soften your jaw. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Draw them into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Make some circles on the ceiling. And then go the opposite direction. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, release one leg out to the front corner of your mat. Push that heel away. Release the other leg out to the other corner and push the heel away. Bring your arms by your side. It can be down low near your hips, out to the side, or even over your head, but resting on the floor. Rock your hips left to right to find the perfect spot for your sacrum to rest. Stretch your neck along, lift your head an inch, tuck your chin, and gently return your head to the mat with a little bit of traction. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. And another deep breath in through your nose, out through your nose, and take rest. I'll be coming around and adjusting some of you. I will not be able to get to everyone. If you do not want me to touch you, just wave me away when you hear my footprints.
Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and toes, your wrists and ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones, drawing your knees into your chest, giving yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right. And the next time you come over towards your right side, pause there for just a moment, using your right arm as a pillow, and do a quick body scan to detect any residual tension or stress that may still be hiding amongst your tissues, so that you'll be able to address them later in the week. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away, rise up to a seated position. Thank you for joining me in this yoga practice this afternoon. Thank you for taking such good care of your body, and your mind, and your breath through the practice of yoga. For you are the people who bring compassion and empathy to our community. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thank you for coming.